Big B for Bob.
Hey, where's Terry?
Terry's getting ready to get ready.
Yep. Lisa, no, wait a minute. That's for balancing, not. Oh, you're flying. That's what it was.
No, she
Okay.
was telling me how much she loves me.
Ah, there it is. Yes.
Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't, Robert? Everyone loves you.
This much. I love you this much.
All right. It is 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern on this Monday, August 24th. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to recess, or should I say, recess.
I like
We
that
are.
one better.
Okay. Sorry, I want to make sure I got that in. We're really glad to have you with us today. As usual with Recess, it is open topic, open everything. We like to just sit down, have our coffee, our Immunical, whatever you like to do in the morning or in the lunchtime. We just sit here and chat. It's like we just sitting around a coffee table or a table and just enjoying each other's company and just talking about anything and everything that comes to mind. And so that's what we do for recess. And it's open to anybody if you want to share. You don't have to really raise your hand unless you really want to. But be respectful. We ask for that. But this is just like we're all carrying on a conversation like we are together face to face. So welcome to recess. Robert, I know we were talking some stuff
Oh, yeah,
before
yeah.
we let everybody in, and I think it'd be a great way to start.
Well, hi, Melody. Thanks for being on here. I will say again, because we're recording Coach Bob, Michael, and Angela, Lisa Marie. I love her this much. And then, of course, Coach CJ, hostess with the mostest. Terry's not here. She's out getting ready to get ready. She over prepares, and I love that about her. And so she's all like and nervous and want to get everything done and taken care of for me and Kyle and Dex and Leo before she takes off. And so yeah, she's not here. But the subject I would like to bring up, anything that you guys, again, recess is about recess. If you can remember in school, you just get a break from everything. Just talk about whatever. And I was really, really excited. I think a lot of you will get this is when about the Indy race that happened in Washington D.C. And it'll be bottom line for a lot of reasons that you guys probably won't think of. But a lot of you know that my very, very first mentor was a guy named Roger Penske, and Roger Penske is worth 7.7 billion now. And listen to this, because they really want to tell the whole story while it's out there. Um, he had his assistant check, and he had tried to get a Grand Prix, which is a street race for Indy, in Washington D.C. And he's tried 211 times. So for a lot of people, you might know this, but there's the Long Beach Grand Prix. There's a Grand Prix in Chicago. There's a Grand Prix or a road race in Miami. So this is not one of the things that, why wouldn't you want one in Washington, D.C.? So it didn't say how many years that he had tried, but he said he knew that he had tried 211 times. And so I just thought for someone that's worth 7.7 billion, that he's still got races he wants to get. His first race he's seen was in Indianapolis 500. And so he made a deal. He said that he was 9 years old. And when he seen the Indianapolis 500, he made one goal, and that would be one day to race on that track. And he did. He started out being a racer first. And then one day he said that he would like to win on that track. And I think he's won the Indianapolis 500 21 times with 17 different drivers. All right. And then after that, he set a goal, which wouldn't it be cool to own this track? And now today he owns it. And before he owned the Indianapolis 500, he now, instead of racing in the Indy, he owns the Indy League. Isn't that crazy? But his mind is just constantly like, what other city could I race in? What other city that would be really, really cool to race in? And it was really, really hilarious because he did his homework. So when he reached out to Donald Trump, knowing about, the UFC fight happening, he's going, I would love an Indy race there, and let's do it for the 250th celebration. And Trump said, wow, that's interesting. And so if you know your person, why not learn how to talk to your person? So he said, I don't know if you knew, but on the 25th anniversary of Washington, D.C., it wasn't Benjamin Franklin, Jefferson. Jefferson decided on the 25th celebration of the White House that he came up with an idea to have a giant party there. And not only have a giant party there, but they tore up the yard and they hauled in a bunch of dirt and did a horse race. Isn't that crazy? And so he wanted everyone to come to the White House on the 25th anniversary to watch a race happen in Washington, D.C. And so he said all he did is told Donald Trump that, and he's going, well, we got to have a race here then. And here's the funniest part, and again, not to get political. They watched a CNN. CNN went there, because, of course, it doesn't make a difference what somebody does. There's going to be a large group pissed off about it, right? And you could see the CNN person was actually picking out people that he knew were left or Democratic, right? And he walked up to this lady and he goes, what do you think about the race? And she said, I came down here to protest. He goes, you did? And she said, then I watched the cars go by. And she says, I've never had hair and goosebumps on my body like that. And she goes, and he goes, do you know how fast they're moving? And one guy behind her goes, 180 when they come across here. And she goes, to think that they're driving 180 miles an hour on the streets of Washington, D.C. is just really exciting. And I thought, isn't it funny that a group of people went down there to protest and they've never been around an Indy race in their life, and then they start watching them race, and all of a sudden it's like, this is pretty cool. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys because it was a super win for my mentor, and to think that he just still is just knocking it down. So, of course, they waited for everything to settle and see how great it is. And then they said that Roger Penske reached out to Donald Trump and said, next year? And then he said, you do know we race every year in Long Beach, California. You do know we race every year in Detroit. You do know we race every year in Miami. And he goes, every year? And he goes, yeah. And Donald Trump says, we should do that. And then Roger Penske went, 5-year contract? Can we do it for the next 5 years? like Roger Penske needs anything else. No, he's always growing. He's always got his sight. So what was the highlight? A rookie that's been racing for a couple of years from Florida, Kirkland, an American, won the race. And so when they interviewed second, third, and fourth, I believe his name was Kyle Kirkland, maybe. But what was really neat is the award ceremony and everything. I mean, you could just see the Capitol building behind where they were getting their awards and doing the champagne and stuff. And it was really, really freaking cool. It was really, really cool to watch that all go down. So,
Kyle Kirkwood.
Kirkwood. Okay, I apologize.
And that race is called the Freedom 250.
Yep, and it'll never be named that again, because it's on the 250 anniversary. You know what I mean? So it's the first one. It's always neat to have the very first one. So for an American to win that, because they talk to the people behind them that are all, Indy racing and Formula One racing, a lot of drivers come from other countries. And they were going like, he was an American. It's an American race. I guess we'll let him. He could have this one. But it was fun watching that. So that's what I sort of did this weekend. What did you guys do? What do you want to talk about on recess?
Lisa brought up that you used to race stock cars? Tell. Come on. We're on racing.
Yeah, yeah. Freddie did as a kid growing up, just street stock, but uh, we raced for 10 years, open wheel modified on dirt tracks, the ones that burn the alcohol.
Very cool.
And since Fred's accident now, him and his buddy Kevin are talking about building another race car.
Oh, wow.
But you know what? I much rather have them in that than in the frickin' air. So
Yeah, there's a lot of safety that's done on those cars, man.
Yeah.
That is really, really cool. That is cool. I when I started out building my own race car, it was for, quarter mile racing, racing
hmm
NHRA. And then I started building motors for people, and then I ended up being part of the tech committee for NASCAR and the local tracks that are up here, Rapid City, South Dakota, and
Yeah.
Billings, Montana, Fargo, all
hmm
those tracks. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
really, really
We
fun.
didn't build our own chassis or anything.
No, but
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
so, that's so
There's
impressive.
yeah. Because my dad raised us on going to the literally the quarter midgets and the open wheels when we were in
hmm
Fresno, and it was a blast. In fact,
They are
okay,
fun.
yeah, and with the big huge wing on the top.
Those
Now
are
this,
sprint cars.
yeah,
They flew, boy. They
Yeah.
flew.
oh yeah, and
Those
they
super fun to
glide
watch.
around the super modifieds, right? They glide around the track, that both dirt and asphalt,
Yeah.
sliding all over the place. It was great. I think my best memory was when, and I may have shared it here. We went the night that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin stepped on the moon. So here we are after the races. They're getting ready to do the moonwalk, or they're doing the moonwalk. So we were down in the pits because we knew one of the crew, or my dad knew one of the people who was on the pit crew, and they had one of these little TVs with the little black and whites, and we're just sitting there, and everybody's surrounding this truck that this thing is on, and we're watching the moonwalk. So
Very
Very
cool.
cool.
quite a memory, but that's what got me into racing, where I love,
Mhm.
I mean, if I had the Malibu Grand Prix tracks here, Robert, you remember those?
Yeah.
I'd be on those every other weekend. I
Now,
loved
now
it.
they have those K1 electric carts, and
Yeah,
yeah, they have them all over the place. You should take Sue. That would be fun.
we've done it actually.
Oh,
They
very
had one
cool.
down in Irvine, and now they've got one here near me in Anaheim. And now we didn't do the Anaheim one, but she got for my birthday a couple of years ago. We went down to the one in Irvine, and they are fun. But
Yeah.
there's still something because those are in a building. There's still something about being, and they're not what I would consider like the Malibu Grand Prix, the open wheel style. Even though those are more go
No,
karts.
they purposely close in the wheels to stop people from killing each other.
That's true. That's true.
So, so Robert, on Roger Penske, did he ever start with money at first, or did he have a lot of money to begin with, or he just built it itself?
No, started out detailing and washing cars at a car dealership, and went from there to being sort of like like a manager for like the used cars, and then he went to managing for the new cars. Then he became a general manager. And then he heard that the dealership he was working for, he heard that the guy was thinking about selling it. And so he made a deal with that guy to say, "Hey, listen, I'll take over the dealership, and I got no money, but what I'll do is I'll pay you a percentage of the growth." And that started out with his first car dealership, and the rest is history.
Wow.
So wow, I think I think it was like when he was 17, 18. There was people that were racing in the area, so he did some of the cars. Everyone that starts out racing does like the local tracks first, which, if you guys heard, the thing with Kurt and Kyle Busch, even though there was a large track in Las Vegas, it started out, there's a small one in the center of it, and that's where the legend cars race. So the new legend cars are a way for people to be surrounded by a roll bar and have a safety harness, so you can't get hurt, but they use like a motorcycle motor in them. And so they got, like we said, to make it less dangerous. They do have strong fenders on them because man, an open wheel car going forward while the other one's in front of it, if those wheels ever hit, that's when you see, all the wing sprint cars that you see. You'll just see them because they're so small, they tumble so fast. And, parts flying off of them, they go over the wall. That's all kinds of, crazy stuff. But yeah, I took the boys to the races all the time. So when, it was, they've, and because so when I went to California, that's when I just started going to all the biggest races I could find, and just fit right in. So when the boys were really young, they got pictures, with John Force and his funny car, and they had no idea, what they were experiencing at that time. But pretty fun time. Teri and I used to go to the races all the time because I'd end up pitting on, anybody's car that was there. So it was pretty cool.
That was cool. And you got a chance to talk to him a lot too, Roger?
Yeah, he would do. He is such an incredible human being and leader. So we got to see him all the time. He would show up to each team in their area. You know what I mean? He would show up to each team. If I was ever at the pits where we were collecting data at the races, he would always talk to the team. I mean, he's such a hands-on individual, and he's like, Ricky Hendricks is it's like their whole deal is, like me, it's like, helping 68 people earn, that kind of money. But when you think about people like Roger Penske, to think how many people he's taken and signed to contracts that didn't know if they were going to be good, that ended up being world champions like Rick Mears and Emerson Fittipaldi and Danny Sullivan. It just goes on and on and on. And, not only one of his cars, so like he's racing the Indy Series in Washington, D.C., and then Ryan Blaney, he wins the race for the NASCAR and he's on Roger Penske's team. It's like, so he's got cars that anything with a motor and tires that's racing all over the world, he's got his finger in. Penske Motorsports is huge.
Wow.
And their revenue for all their companies last year was $48 billion revenue for his companies. And talk about these silly goals, Bob. I don't know if you've ever heard me say this. Roger Penske's, one of his goals was they had the number one car dealership in every make and model of car.
Really?
And I worked for one of the dealerships in El Monte, California. It's called Longo Toyota. And I don't know I haven't kept track of it, but when I worked for them, that was the number one car dealership in the world for like 27 years in a row. And a lot of people don't know what he does, but he also owns Hertz.
Okay.
So when it came down to the last days to see what dealership was going to be number one, he would sell cars to himself. So then it cost him a lot of money to transport the cars. So then what he did is it used to be called Hertz Trucking. And then what he did is he bought Hertz, and that turned into trucking and turned it into Penske trucks,
Wow.
Penske leasing trucks.
That's brilliant. I mean, that's
He even told us that. He said every year he would look at where he spent the most money. And then what he would do is figure out how to pay himself. Is that crazy?
yeah.
So like a lot of the money that he spent would be actually testing on racetracks. So that's when he came up with the great idea. Well, why don't I just build and own racetracks?
Well, I know you told me one time it's like, I mean, that's a losing business, right? Racing. I mean, it's hard to make money in that, right?
Well,
Just with all,
it really truly is. But Roger figured that out as well. So what he did is he figured out, listen, if a car is going to have a lot of TV time, what if it had Pennzoil on the side of it? So then he started going to oil companies and talking them to put up the money for what it costs for a race team to build a car and race it all year. It's like one of the things in Think and Grow Rich is OPM, other people's money. Everybody thinks you need money to make money, and it's like, no, if you can share your vision well enough, people will give you their money.
so he does that on the advertising and all the other stuff he does then too to make it work out for the
Yep,
racing, right? Okay.
yep. And that's one of the things, So, we always talk about who told you that, or how do you know that? There was somebody that I watched those little videos of people being interviewed, and there was a person with a sign that was protesting, and he goes, the same thing they do all the time. It's like, well, listen, gas is $4 a gallon. It's not as high as it was when Biden was in office, but it's high. You know what I mean? And why dare, Donald Trump put this race here, when everyone's hurting for money? And IndyCar and Roger Penske paid for the whole entire thing. But no one ever wants to. It's just like, well, it's in Washington, D.C., so Trump probably used taxpayer money for.
Yeah. I wonder why the two sides do that. They bitch and moan about just the little things. We're not trying to solve any problems. Our whole political thing, we're just bitching at the other side.
Now, it really truly is who you listen to. Who you listen to, because in the years that I even tried, to sort of get myself more engaged with it, you'll find out that it doesn't even make the difference what the real true numbers are. They'll just scale the numbers. They'll use the numbers to manipulate them to tell the story that they want. And then they got their whole tribe, we're really tribal people. And then people start telling those deals. This is not being political. I don't know if you guys heard this. This guy wrote a book called I think it was called, uh, darn it, I wrote it down.
Who's the
But
author?
it was like 1934, I think it was. It was called, it's a new book called the Death of Heat or something like that. But the reason that he wrote the book is the year, during Depression, it was in the 30s, where the Dust Bowl happened in the United States. And he wrote the book just showing nothing but documentation of just how horrible it was to live in the United States during those years. And it's all based on temperature, right? That things got so bad that 3/4 of the United States couldn't grow crops? Couldn't.
Well,
And he said, so he just got sick and tired of people saying, well, this is the hottest it's ever been. This is the hottest it's ever been. This is the hottest it's ever been. Yeah, they just don't say that this is the hottest it's ever been since 1962. See, they don't say that. Because if you said, is it the hottest year ever, ever, ever? No.
Are you talking about the Summer of Death, the Great Heat Wave of 1936?
Yep.
And that's by Geoff Williams.
And he said the only reason that he wrote that book is he thought that if he wrote that book and published that book, that then everybody couldn't say that we're right now experiencing the worst weather in the world. See, he said that only, and he said, but it was for another reason too. It's like people got to stop saying that these are the worst times in the world.
right.
They're not. If you take your mindset, you guys know Teri really well. Teri, the part that Teri doesn't show you guys is really the mindset of stop whining and complaining and go to work. She's like crazy that way. It's like, listen, if you're complaining about how something's working, then just go fix it. Well, I don't know how to fix it. Then shut up. Don't complain about shit that you're not willing to fix. Well, I don't even know how to fix this. Well, then shut up.
Yeah. Or just try something, right? Just get in there. It just, if you just sit there and don't do anything, try something, right? That's what my dad always taught me. And you know what I mean? Just get in there, whatever it is, if it's something with the car or lawnmower or whatever, right? Just the house.
Yeah, there's another thought pattern too, is that this whole concept of always, when people do try, this whole group of people that are just beating them up. I know we're just on recess here, but I don't know if you guys seen this yesterday, but there's these two professional basketball players right now that are trying to get in the WNBA. And they're doing it just to prove a point. And one of the basketball players said the reason that he's doing it is he said, if someone can just answer this question for me, I'm done. I won't bother them anymore. He goes, how can women abuse a woman for sticking up for women? He goes, if you guys can help me, I want to know why women are going after a woman for her defending women. And so he was at the game last night and he was wearing a shirt, and the shirt said on it, something about fighting for the right to be a woman. He's this 6'7", or 6'8" basketball player, and he's a good basketball player. And he shows up at this game with this shirt on, and one of the women on the other team just flipped her shit. You know what I mean? And ran over to him, and people are like, what the hell? So it got to the point where it got bad enough where they asked the guy to leave. and he's going like, yeah, so the WNBA, the people that own that organization cannot tell you what a woman is. And I'm going like, so they're kicking these kids out. I don't know if you guys seen this. It's crazy where these two girls showed up because they're Sophie Cunningham, fans. And all it said on the shirt was XXXY. I was like, this is very simple. Just take a blood test. You're XX, you play. You're XY, you don't. it's like, it's weird. We live in a really crazy world that people can just get on TV and say anything. And people are just like, doesn't look at them like they're nutcases. It's like, It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. The part that sort of gets me too, and please anybody that wants to comment is that all of a sudden the world just turned into this concept called, you don't have to write to make me feel this way. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I even seen Rosie O'Donnell, I think
Yeah, she's filling in for Jimmy Kimmel this week.
yeah, and
Or she
even
was.
even she was on a podcast and she goes, "Oh my God, my kids would just drive me nuts because they would scream at me and throw things at me because I wouldn't address them as they." And so she shows her arm and she had tattooed on her arm they. And she said, because I wanted to do my best for my kids, they didn't want me to call her and she. And to think that you would have kids that would throw fits and yell and scream at you and throw stuff at you because you didn't say the right pronouns. I look at me as this, and I felt sorry for her. I think she's a nice person. I think she's funny. And to have someone play with your mind like that, though, this is the way you'll address me, because if you don't, you make me feel. And I hung around mentors that would tell me, this is probably not the right thing to say, but they told me this, is they go, your feelings mean fucking nothing. You know what I mean? Which is a little maybe too far the other way. But it's like, I can't imagine the mentors I hung around that I'd walk up to them and say, I just didn't feel like working today. I didn't feel like doing what I was supposed to for you today. Like, fuck your feelings. It's like, if you don't do it, I'll find someone else to do it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
but we as human beings, I don't know why. Maybe Craig does. Maybe you guys do. I really don't know why we constantly in the world do the pendulum swing. We can't find the middle that basically is the middle for all of us. Every
I
one
think
of
it,
us. No,
I
we
really
gotta
think it
go,
comes down to the money end of it because we've divided ourselves so much that now we're going to the lowest common denominator, and like you've said, the tribalism has caused a split, a rift. So in our media, you've got this side that says this, and those people are going to follow them because that's what they believe, and you got the other side that says this, and those people are going to follow them. And it used to be facts. Yes, Robert or Ben, I'm sorry. Facts are facts, but the problem is, and I'll keep going back to it as much as I can even say it. The news organizations, when they deregulated the news organizations from the broadcasting companies so that the news organizations had to make money.
yeah.
Fox was the first one. You can look it up. Fox was the first one to
I
take
thought,
advantage of it, and they did. And that's how they were able to make money. And now you've got, instead of news, you have opinionated news. And
right.
if you don't believe in my opinion, that's it. You're out.
Yep.
Don't even think twice.
You're so right. And how it got into our educational system is really, I'd like to go back and see where, I don't know if you guys, a lot of people don't watch the news, but there's a Berkeley professor that says that he's got to teach 7th and 8th grade English and math to the people that are coming into his college. 8th and 7th. And so you got a professor that wants to teach children, but he's got to teach them how to read first. I'm like,
no. You can't do that. You can't do that. You're teaching things that are against the Bible that I don't believe in. What do you mean? We have to teach them how to read, how to write, how to do arithmetic. Come on, Robert. What's all this about?
It's
sarcasm. Sarcasm.
Yeah. I never, but it is interesting. I think that what's that saying, Craig? You probably can help me, or Bob, any one of you. This is recess.
Come on,
But
man,
it's
you
like,
can even participate. I know you're putting in the chat.
Yeah, but it's like what's that phrase that says when the world is, when the world is weak, it makes weak people.
Mm.
And then when everyone stands up for themselves, it makes strong people. So there's probably a large group of people that just don't participate, including voting, because they just don't think it matters anymore.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem that voting mattered, but now it does. See what I mean? When all of a sudden, so all of a sudden, when someone stands up and says, "Hey, listen, we're not going to have a president anymore. We're going to take away the Senate. We're going to take away the Supreme Court. Well, what are you going to do for a president? We're just going to throw a guy or a gal in front of a committee." And see, all of a sudden, it gets to the point because it went so far this way that, man, I never thought that you hear people on the Democratic Party right now, and they're saying, "Listen, do you disavow what these people are saying? No prisons, no borders." And they're going, "Well, we just love everybody, and there's enough room in the big tent for everybody." And it's like, so my son Robert Hollis Jr. was telling me there's this funny guy. I haven't seen his videos, but they walk up in these really elite places and they knock on this lady's door and they're saying, "Are you against ICE?" And she goes, "I absolutely am." And they said, "Well, would you sign this petition? Because if you sign this petition, we can abolish ICE. And then what we're going to do as this committee is we're going to make sure that we take care of the people that are here illegally. They need places to stay. They need food. They need someone to take care of them." And she goes, "I'll absolutely sign that." And as she was signing that, a U-Haul truck pulled up and they opened up the back and all these immigrants get out of the truck and start walking toward her house. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And she says, "You signed it. You didn't read it, but you just said you'd take care of these 20 illegal immigrants. We picked them up instead of taking them and deporting them. We picked them up at Lowe's. They need money and food and a place to stay, and they're staying at your house." And she's like, "The fuck they are."
Robert, are you thinking of the phrase, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's Michael Hopf.
And did you notice how I changed it to people instead of men? You
Oh,
know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm
On that
trying to
stuff,
be.
Robert. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go.
Back on that Rosie O'Donnell thing. My kids would never throw anything at me, whatever I called them. It's just how you're
Yeah.
raised. You know what I mean? And I don't know. And the identification thing, I think that's getting out of hand now. Don't you think? I
Well,
mean,
it doesn't seem like anything, and until it is. Like I said, we went from, don't you think that a comedian shouldn't really say bad things about, cultures and people? I remember some of the old comedians, and it's like
Ooh.
their whole act, was about saying jokes about different races and different entities. You know what I mean? And was it funny? Yeah. What I always thought was funny about it is that those people were laughing the most and they paid for the ticket to show up.
Hmm.
So,
yeah,
so how can you be upset? I remember years ago, Larry the Cable Guy. It's the first concert that I took my father-in-law to. He loves to laugh. So I take him to this concert, and he comes out and he says, "Hey, everybody, how you doing?" And then everybody was like, "Yay!" And he says, "We're gonna have fun tonight." He goes, "Where's my Latinos?" And you heard this whole section in the back just go bananas. And he goes, "Let's give it up for the kitchen help." And you could hear them laughing louder than everybody else. And now it's like, well, you can't do that. But then it got like that after what it was, like COVID and stuff. It just seemed to get the cancel culture got worse and worse. So now what you're doing, it seems to me like you're getting the pendulum to go back the other way. And people are saying, "You're not going to stop me from saying retard." And now all of a sudden, now they're going crazy And I don't know. I never ever felt that if like Seinfeld, not saying that he's the best, but it is quite the art to make everybody laugh their asses off and feel like they got their money's worth, and you
Hmm.
don't offend anybody, and you also don't need to cuss.
Oh my gosh.
Because
Yeah.
I've watched other comedians that every word out of their mouth is FM, FF, F this, F that. And it's like I don't enjoy that. You know what I mean? So
Bill
you know,
Cosby was great when it came to doing that. Now, however you think about Bill Cosby, okay, but I remember seeing him in concert in Las Vegas. He only uttered one word out of his mouth that was of the cuss style, and it was shit, and that was it. And he even apologized for saying it, but it was part of his routine. But the whole place was dying of laughter because, like what you're saying, Robert, he knew how to tell a story,
yeah.
and he
Oh my
didn't
God.
have to drop f bombs or whatever out there to make the point. And okay, you can go to the other extreme like George Carlin, but the thing about Carlin is he's logical. He doesn't say it in a malicious way. He just uses it because that's the only word that describes what he's trying to describe.
Right. I just think that there's such an art and in doing what you need to do. I think I shared this story with you guys. I spoke at an Eric Worre event. I think there was like 20,000 plus people there. And people would always, want to get an autograph or they had my book or they wanted to say something or meet me. And I seen this guy. He was he's probably old as I am now. I say old guy, you know what I mean? But he was really patiently waiting for me. And then he came up and he went, he says, I can't tell you how many people I've seen speak on stage. It's what I love to do. And I just thought that you're one of the best I've ever seen. And I said, well, thank you. And he goes, would you allow me to give you, some constructive criticism? I said, absolutely. And he goes, there's absolutely no reason to use the word sucks.
I remember you telling this
And I
someplace
looked at him
else.
and I went, you are 100% right. And he goes, I didn't think you would say that. And he said, so now I'm more impressed with you than I ever been. And I go, if there's one word that I use in front of a group of people that get them to think, ah, man, why? It's like, why did you have to say that? Because there was times, um, I told you guys about they didn't know how to um, diagnose dyslexia when I was younger. And so they didn't use the word special. They did use the word retarded. So that's the short butts. That's the retarded people. You know what I mean? And it never affected me at all, but I did see how it made others feel. And so I'm thinking like, why, so again, where do you split it, as we continue to move forward, um, how people can hate and spend all of their time. I've said this many times, how a person can hate something and spend all their time going against something is just bizarre to me. It's so bizarre to me that you would dedicate that much effort and that much time hating a thing or a person, so we always hear regardless of what people do, and they can be doing a play, they can be at a concert. How all of a sudden all the universities made a decision that they wasn't going to allow certain speakers at the university. It's like, what the hell? Really? Okay, so then there was some schools that said, bullshit. We're allowing everyone in. So then the protesters just go in and keep screaming so they don't get a chance to talk. And I guess it got bad enough where, you know, they assassinated a person for showing up at college. You know what I mean? So it's bizarre to me. You don't have to think the same. You don't have to agree. But when yell, and I see some of these protesters where they just get right up in the person's face and they're blowing a whistle. You know what I mean? Or they're beating a can, or they got a megaphone, and it's like they just won't even allow other people to voice their opinions. You can hate what they're talking about.
It's is that the way they were brought up though, Robert? I mean, I would never do that to anybody. And and on that word that sucks, yeah, that would just go fly right by me.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know why this stuff flies by me, but uh, I don't know.
I think it
I,
comes
I,
down to respect, really, because we don't respect people anymore to allow them to have their own opinion. I remember what Robert's saying. Colleges used to have all different points of views
that
being,
was the reason you went to university.
exactly, exactly. Everybody had a platform, whether it was pro, con, or way, way out there.
Yeah.
You because of our freedom of speech, First Amendment, you had the right to share what you wanted to, but obviously not to incite, violence. As long as you stood on the platform. In fact, that was the whole idea behind the soapbox. Is you get on
Yeah.
the soapbox, you have your time to speak, you speak, and you step down.
Right.
So, and everybody could do it as long as it didn't incite any kind of violence. Great. You could say what you needed to say and move on, and then people had the opportunity to say, do I want to listen to that or not? And if not, and that's something about, like, if you want to talk about radio with Howard Stern, for example, when he started, he actually said to people, if you don't like what I am saying, turn me off. Don't
Yeah.
listen to me. And that's going to cause the
No,
advertisers
I'd
not
rather
to,
listen and get offended.
yeah. But that's the point is, if you don't want to listen to me, don't listen to me. Turn me off.
Right.
Advertisers then will see their budgets go down. People don't want to advertise on my show, and I'm gone. He said
Yeah.
that flat out. And the unfortunate part is that people, it doesn't matter. They feel that they have a platform. They can say what they want. They can do what they want. And it's just, it's annoying. It's a shame that we don't have the same kind of discourse in
Yeah,
public anymore.
it is yeah, and I would say anymore, Craig, I disagree with you so much because it where you would get rid of what, Coach Bob is talking about, where, you're just not offended by what other people say
Hmm.
because someone taught you that what other people do and say has nothing to do with you. Ben said, that yeah, I seen it where Ben was just saying, I was told exactly the same thing. Is like one of the big first seminars that Terry and I went to that was all about, helping yourself be the best you can be. And when the first time that I heard this phrase, I just went, that's not right. But it's like nobody can make you feel anything. And it's like you decide to feel away.
Right.
You
Right.
decide to feel offended. You decide to feel the attack or whatever it is. And I just went, no, I know a lot of people that can piss me off and touch my buttons. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's still blaming them, right? And now we get to see where people get around this group of people, and you become who you hang around. But like that the kid that's allegedly, assassinated Charlie Kirk. Now they're letting a lot of stuff out about him, and even the person that he was in a relationship has come out and said a lot about him. And it was like they talk about who he was before he got online and started plugging into this group of crazy people.
Hmm.
It's like it's like how can everything turned for you so fast, so quick. It might not be fast and it might be quick, but if all of a sudden you're immersed in it for, 8 to 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you see what I mean?
Mhm.
And my mentor used to tell me all the time that no one's immune from that. He said, listen, I guarantee you, you plug into one news channel and just listen to that news channel all the time. And Craig, I'd like you to check a data for me.
Sure.
I believe CNN was the very, very first, not only 24-hour news show,
Yes, it was.
but it also was the first person because you're feeling 24 hours.
Hmm.
That was the very first one that certain shows became popular because they just gave their opinions.
Oh,
All
well,
right.
yeah. They had
Okay.
to
So, but
fill the whole news day
yeah,
and hour with something that was not just, okay, he went on the White House lawn and spoke, and here's what he said. Boom.
right.
Then you start getting, okay, well, but see, he didn't say it exactly the way he should have, and now you got opinion going. Now, that's not
So,
to
so,
say,
because I
yeah,
know that recently Terry and I watched this thing. So the question would be who was first, CNN or Fox? But what I've heard, and this is heard, Ted Turner. So when Ted Turner had to fill these hours with individuals that just did their opinions, guess what? Guess what shows got the most views? The people that had individual shows with opinions. They started making more money than the slots for the news.
yeah. Okay, here's kind of a real quick breakdown. CNN, launched by Ted Turner in 1980, pioneered the 24/7 news cycle. The shift towards relying heavily on opinion, punditry, and commentary to fill continuous airtime accelerated following the 1987 repeal of the FCC's Fairness Doctrine, which is what I was referring to
What
earlier.
year was that?
1987.
Holy crap. Okay.
Yeah. So we're talking
Wow.
almost 40 years of this. Um, Paving the way for dedicated opinion driven networks like Fox News and MSNBC in the 1990s.
Got it.
So there's what you're just now
No,
talking
no.
about in the brief right there.
Yeah. And yeah, because they were saying that they're, of course, the networks now are about money, but it was they were saying in the thing that I seen with Ted Turner that it became very, very obvious to the network that the hour slots for personalities was getting more money for advertising than the news slot. So that's when it started bleeding over. So I'm sure that every network is competitive with the other networks. And so that's where MS Now and all of them came from, where it's like, wow, not only does people really want to watch 24 hours of news, honest,
Yeah.
but they would also be tuned into a show where, I think that all of us could name names without naming names, that as soon as you start watching the person, they're like they're like so out there and so radical. I don't mind naming a name. I don't, but that used to be he's no longer on uh Bill
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 Riley.
O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly, and now like Glenn Beck or
Hmm. Yeah,
Tucker
those are the early
Carlson.
people that
Yeah,
did
Tucker
that.
Carlson or
Right.
Hannity, the guy that Hannity now. It's like, oh my God, I start watching just a little bit of it. And for those of you that love those personalities, I'm not saying anything negative. I'm just saying that, man, as soon as I know they open up their mouth, they're just 1000% trashing the other side. It's
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
holy cow. It's like, calling them names. I mean, I'm just going like, and again, I think that all of us have a sense of, the phrase is called discernment, where Craig brought it up first. it's like, man, the first time that I watched a Howard Stern,
Mm-hmm.
I was offended. And
Oh,
you're not,
yeah.
like Ben said, you're not supposed to be offended. I don't mind saying this, but because it really drives the point home. But he had these two ladies walk in with really skimpy bikinis on, and he told them to turn around and bend over, and he was seeing who him and his guests were seeing who could stick a piece of bologna on their butt cheeks, throwing it, and I'm just like, and we're all giggling and we're all laughing, but I'm just like, how humiliating. It's
Yeah.
like but I bet the girls got paid good.
That's exactly it. And the only time I actually just FYI, the only time I actually respected Stern, not that he wasn't smart about what he did, but when 9/11 occurred, people wanted to just keep going with the BS that was part of his show, and he said, "Nope, not today. Not today." He understood that
Hmm.
because of that, it's like, I am not going to go there on a day like today. And yes, Coach Bob, he has had some very good interviews, but
Oh yeah.
those are rare, and it's again what sells exactly goes back to that what sells,
Yeah.
because during the time before the fairness doctrine was repealed, you would go on and you would watch newscasters, and they were traditional. They all said basically the same thing. They made sure it was fact based, and the only differences
There's
almost
no
were pretty
way.
much Walter Cronkite, who delivered it better. Walter Cronkite,
Yeah.
Harry Reasoner, or whoever was the big news persons at that time.
There was no way that you could release a story without having three resources.
Oh, fact check was so big. In fact, that's what the Watergate thing was all about.
Yeah, it's like you can't just, hey, you know, uh, I seen Coach Bob, hanging out with this guy, and they seem to be a little too close. I don't know. Is he really straight? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, I used to say this all the time, and I see we're almost up on time. But when I seen that they started doing it in the courtroom as well.
Hmm.
So not only are these people smart enough, if you have the money, the person that makes the rules has the most gold. It's like, all of a sudden you could see that they could pick juries because they just knew so much about psychology and who people were and what they're doing. So now you not only are doing jury selection, which, do you guys know that's where Dr. Phil got his fame? He was the jury consultant for Oprah Winfrey when the meat industry and the ranchers in Texas went after Oprah Winfrey. So Oprah
Wow.
Winfrey said something on her show that, I think people eating beef you just shouldn't do it. And so all the ranchers in Texas sued her. And Phil McGraw was the guy that picked the right people to be on the jury, and she won. So jury selection was one thing, but then when you start to see that lawyers, the best storyteller wins. It's not even the
Yeah.
facts anymore. And
No.
so the person that can put the story together better and do that thing. And then the last thing was, where they say stuff and then they see how far they can push the envelope. And then the judge comes in, of course, the other guy objects or the other girl objects. And then the judge comes in and says, don't. So, you can say stuff like this. It's like, well, Craig, I mean, Craig, I'm questioning Craig, right? And I go, Craig, isn't it true that, that you were caught numerous times with children underage before? And you could see Craig's face change. And then his lawyer says, I object. And the judge goes, you can't say that. Okay, jury, yeah. You got to
Disregard it.
disregard it. You didn't hear Robert say that. And it's like, yeah, I did.
Yeah. And then, of course, you add to the TV shows that are out there that are always playing all of these little things
Oh
to get into
my.
people's heads, and now they got to be on a jury.
So we do know there's a group of people out there that are constantly trying to manipulate us for opinions or whatever, protesting or whatever. I did hear this phrase, and I now look at it, and it's called rage merchants. What is the most outrageous thing that a person can say to get clicks? We deserve 9/11. United States deserved 9/11. And it's like, yeah, I'll get some clicks. Thank you, Craig.
Oh, wow. What a great discussion today, everybody. Thank you so much for participating. And, we do this every Monday morning. Recess! And that's the fun of this, is we just sit here and talk, and it doesn't matter where the conversation goes, we go there, and everybody participates. So bless you, and thank you so much for joining us today here on Recess. There's a couple of things that in the chat. If you want to save the chat, click the 3 dots in the meeting chat, and then click Save Chat. It'll download to your computer if you're watching us on Zoom. We also post some of those notes into the description below, so you can check that out if you're watching us on YouTube after the fact. But we love and we appreciate you. And please also don't forget to look forward to our wisdoms on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Thursday is Inner Circle, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Saturday, Ask Us Anything, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, which is open to everybody, as well as Master's Mind on Sunday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Every single day of the week, we've got something for you, our amazing Unlimited Wisdom community. And if you want to join us to be part of Unlimited Wisdom, go to unlimitedwisdom.com and join us. You can join us for free. That's how easy it is. And see that voodoo that we do so well. So love and appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so very much for joining us here again on Recess. Until next time, be good to yourselves, be cash, bye-bye. And I'm going to go ahead and unmute, even though a lot of you can just go ahead and unmute. But let's unmute and everybody say, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Safe
Thank you,
travels,
Craig. Thank you,
Teri.
Melody. Thank you, Ben.
Have a nice trip. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach Bob, Michael, and Angela. And
Fast.
again, Craig,
Damn, this went
hostess with
fast.
Moses. Yeah.
Take care.
Talk about good stuff. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.